Hello, it's Jack from Red Dragon, and in this episode I'm going to be reviewing the 800 Newton overlay mask and the 350 Newton plunderhose and trousers. So let's start off with the mask. Here you can see I have opted for a nice yellow or gold colour with the red stitching to sort of contrast my jacket and my trousers. This is the fabric version, so it's the non-leather. With that you get a multiple choice of colours, so I opted for the colourway with the rest of my kit. So in terms of sizing, I didn't have to give any measurements per se, I just had to tell them the size of my mask. So I run a 1600 Newton large Red Dragon mask, and I got a large overlay to go with that. The two fit really well together, so that's good. So in terms of its features, it has a couple of air vents each side to allow air in and out, which is nice. The Velcro strap on the back for adjustment to go over your mask. There is a small Velcro strap inside, like most, to go around the tongue of your fencing mask as well. It features extra material on the side, so if your mask is a little longer, it will allow you to still be protected. As you can see, I don't like running the bibbed version of a fencing mask as it restricts your movement. Running something like this allows you to turn your head quite well, and you're still very well protected. And obviously you can add an extra gorget or something else there to protect your throat. So moving on to the trousers. These are a 350 Newton plunderhose style pant, or more commonly known poofy pant. So these are 350 Newton, like I said. I also own an 800 Newton pair. I just wanted these to compare the two to see whether they are more breathable and if their mobility is different. So they have knee pad anchor points. There are adjustable cuffs around the calf, which is just a general drawstring kind of toggle system, which works quite well. They also feature a slightly different fabric in the crotch, which is kind of like a gusset to allow a little bit more flexibility when you're doing those deep lunges. This is also a slightly more breathable fabric, so obviously it will keep the heat down around there, as these are quite hot when you wear them after a while due to just the nature of the trouser. There's a lot of fabric, and the padding inside can trap the heat in. Speaking of the padding, you can remove it, much like the jacket. It is the same foam as the jacket. This adds to just stop the blunt force trauma, say if you get struck in the leg. It does not really do anything about the puncture resistance of the trouser. There are standard braces style straps, much like you see on any other pair of Hemo trousers. These are adjustable, which is quite nice. And the waistband is elasticated with a toggle, which is really good as well. It's much more comfortable than the Velcro. So as these are custom made, I was given a size chart and guide. I had to do specific measurements and then send them over to Superior Fencing, and then they took those away and they made these trousers for me. So that means they are super comfortable. They fit really, really well, and I'm really pleased with how they've turned out. Obviously got to choose all the colors and the patterns to go with it, like I said previously, and then the next thing to do is to basically just take these to class and start training in them and see how well they perform. So here is just a few flow drill movements to get me started before the class. I am currently going over Vardy's Italian longsword, and there will be a few little bits of that in here, as well as Meyer's German longsword, just because that's what we primarily study. So all that's left to do now is to start sparring and see how well they perform. Once again, it is very sunny and warm, so it's quite humid here tonight. So we just did head and hands, and I am trying to move as dynamic and explosive as I can, whilst trying to keep my sort of heat down, because it was quite tiring in this session. So let's just go over the mobility of these trousers. So if you've ever worn a pair of traditional style Hemo trousers, you'll know what that feels like and how sometimes you feel a little bit restricted when you're doing things like a deep lunge, or just generally trying to move quicker just because the fabric is pressed against your legs. Obviously, with something like these, that is not the case. And this is because there is a lot more material, making all your movements more explosive and dynamic. As for protection, it doesn't stop your mobility. The added material even allows for blade strike absorption, which I think is quite nice. So if you're struck on the side of the leg, with that paddedness of the actual material rather than the foam inserts, it does stop some of that strike's power, which is quite nice. Obviously, if you took a full brunt to the leg, you might feel it, but given that these are a different style and they're more opted towards the mobility, I would say that that's kind of expected. So if you want something a little different, I would highly recommend these trousers. So for more information about the items covered in this review, please head over to www.supfen.com. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe.